Game. The boys talk about instrumental tracks.
Alright, welcome back to another episode of the Whiteboard Game podcast. It is episode 4 of season 2. We're happy to have you.
Yes.
I am Chris. I'm joined by my good friend
Ainsley Harriet.
If only he were my good friend.
Yeah.
That would be special.
Give your mate a good old rub. No, it's me, Frederick. I got you for a second. Admit it, I got you.
Today we are doing a interestingly themed game. I think probably very, very comparatively different from last week, where I guess it was meant to be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Where we're just sort of talking about our favourite sorts of music and that sort of thing. Whereas this is arguably the hardest sort of round.
Well, I know we've discussed what we might do for the next one. So I would say, if we are to stick to that, I'd say hardest game is a toss-up between this and the next one.
Okay, maybe.
I would say.
Yeah, definitely between those two. This game,
maybe this one because it maybe feels a bit broader. But
yeah, that was my thinking. In this game, we're going to look at extracts that don't have any singing, or don't have lyrics, or that sort of thing. So instrumental tracks, or parts of a track that don't have singing in it. Basically, if you hear someone singing and there are lyrics, no,
forbidden, kind of. Yes,
don't have that in. Hope you enjoy. It is just the bog standard Whiteboard Game formula. We're going to give each other some extracts, and we're going to guess the name of the song, the name of the artist, the year, and the genre. Yeah. We're going to try. Well, I say we're going to be a bit more lenient on this round because it's harder. We'll see what happens. It may also be that because there are no lyrics to go off anyway, that leniency doesn't even matter, because with everyone we might both be so far off entirely. So it's like, you can be lenient, but it's like, in a football game, if you're 2 miles offside, you can't really be lenient with that offside kind of thing. Good comparison. Yeah. And there's no bonus points, no real way to fit in a bonus point. No fun today. Sorry about that. No. If you're expecting a fun whiteboard game, we can't promise it. It may still be fun, but we can't promise anything. Yeah. Anyways, how are you, Fred?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. I have, as I've told you, as I'm telling everyone, I have my final law exams coming up next week and the week after, which I have been revising for. Just a general word of advice to everyone. This is my law wisdom of the day. Even if you trust the person or people very much, if you are looking to buy or rent property, I strongly advise you to have some sort of formalised agreement by which you write out who has what legal and equitable interest over the property, because this is what you never know what's going to happen down the line. Someone, hopefully not, might die. You may fall out with people if it's a house share. You may, even worse, fall out with someone if they're romantically linked to you. And then the courts have to get involved, and you may well see a result that you weren't expecting on who owns how much of the house kind of thing. So I would strongly advise people to have something written. That's my bit of advice for the day to all however many people are going to hear me say it. A little bit of wisdom there. Also, it saves you a lot of money having to go to a lawyer and say, please help me, I don't want the wife to take the house. Because you've already got a document saying that she can't. So, I think that's pretty much me. I don't think anything else. Liverpool won a league title. Yeah, they did. That was a mad weekend for me. It was a mad weekend for both of us, because on Sunday, Liverpool won the title. On Saturday, we had our album party gig. Album launch, you could call it that, but the album was released a month prior, so maybe launch isn't the right word. But album party gig, most definitely. I don't know if that's something you want to talk about.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it was as party gets. You know, we were strutting our stuff on the dance. Well, some of our friends were strutting their stuff on the dance floor.
They had been drinking for some hours. Yes.
It was great. Yeah. I think we weren't necessarily playing with artists who we played with before. I think when we envisioned the show, that's what we were going to be doing, but it didn't plan out that way. But the artists we did play with were very lovely. Yeah. We got along with them.
Good guys.
Yeah, and their sound complemented ours, I think, as well. Which
I think that's fair.
Ultimately is what you want. And it went well on the day. It was very enjoyable. We had lots of people come to see us, which was really fun. As I say, it was as party gets.
I agree with you.
Yeah, you should have been there if you were not. But don't worry, you will be able to catch us on the 25th of May, which I realise this will be going out after that.
Yeah.
But we will have mentioned that in the last game, so you will know. And you'll know if you keep up with our social media stuff, which is probably how you found this.
Yes.
Let's not beat around the bush.
No.
You haven't found this podcast because it's blowing up or it's doing numbers. You found it because, those two guys that post stuff on their social media and make music have got a podcast as well. That's how you know about it.
We are a very unusual species. We're two white guys with a podcast. That just doesn't happen. Doesn't happen.
Really authentic, I think. Really authentic and unique, I think, is an important factor.
Well, but we don't talk about things like what are other lads, what are other people on podcasts talk? We don't talk about like misogyny. We talk about music, and that's what makes us unique.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
We don't have awful opinions. That's what unless you ask me about The Cure, maybe. But yeah.
So yeah, do come to our shows. We'd love to see you there. We will be announcing more soon. We don't have any more lined up at the moment, but we hope to have some more. They will
come. It's a matter of time.
We'll have some more in the pipeline. So look forward to that. But in the meantime, you've got this game to focus on and enjoy. Please enjoy it. Shall we begin? Was there anything else you wanted to establish?
Listen to the LP if you haven't. I always say that. Still quite fresh, still quite new. In a way, second LP is already underway, I feel. So
the seeds are being sown.
Yeah. Well, as they should be. You know, I don't really think we have an excuse to take a break, but yeah. Yes, we can begin.
Cool. Okay, I think I will guess first. You guessed first last time.
Okay.
So, remind myself what was going on with your extract. Yes. To say I lack confidence in a lot of my answers would be an understatement.
Don't worry, similar boat. Similar boat.
This, contrastingly, was one that I thought, actually, I'm quite happy with this answer. I think I've done a good job of guessing who it is. I'm not confident it is this group, but it heavily reflected what I know of them. I've guessed Sigur Ros. I guessed it was called You. From what I remember of their album A New Beginning, they say You a lot. I don't think it's from this album because I've heard that a few times. I don't recognise it. So maybe it's off of a later one, hence why I've guessed 2004. And I said post-rock / dream pop, which seems to be their sort of genres.
Yeah. 3 points.
Thank you.
3 points. Excellent start.
Wow.
So, this is Sigur Ros. This is their Untitled number 9.
Number 9.
I think out of all the Sigur Ros songs, that's probably one of the most generous I could have given you, I suppose, in terms of titling. 2003, post-rock or choral, because I guess that's the chamber pop you could put in there as well, due to the sheer ensemble size, perhaps. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know much to say. I've never really spoken to you on my perspective about Sigur Ros, because I have listened to a lot of their stuff.
That's true.
And I like it. It's. I think he's got a lovely voice, and I think the way they arrange stuff is really impressive. this is like an off-cut EP or single or something from the Bracket album.
Oh yes.
I don't know what to call it other than the Bracket
album.
Which I enjoy that one. I can tell you what my favourite is because it's not thingy.
It's not a new beginning.
No, I like it, but it's not my favourite. I think, in fact, that's going to take longer, so let me go this way. It's which album is the one with Hoppy Polar on it? Which is like it's one of their big radio ones, I suppose.
Tack is what it says here.
There you go. I think Tack is my favourite one, because it is, I think, a really effective blend of their post-rock stuff, but they've combined it with some quite digestible poppy stuff, which, you know, I no longer want to be a person who looks at the word pop and goes, ugh! You know, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's useful in doses. In the way I've spoken about The Cure before, I think sometimes their stuff can be just too long. But then when you get to things like Head on the Door and stuff like this, those albums I find a lot more pleasant and digestible. Even though Disintegration it's probably still their best album. But I'm not talking about The Cure. Always comes back to The Cure. Sigur Ros, I don't feel negatively about any of their records that I've listened to. But I think when they find a way to condense all that brilliant ensemble writing into 4 or 5 minutes, that for me is where I find them at their most impactful. And that's why I like that album. And I like this song. Very social media friendly, this one. A lot of people use it when they're trying to do like creepy or spacey videos or whatever. I'll leave it there. 3 points.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I definitely should have gone deeper with Sigur Ros, because I've only listened to... I've been calling it A New Beginning, but on Spotify it's got a re-release in 2019 that says A Good Beginning. So maybe that was the intended translation. But yeah, need to go deeper with them, definitely.
I tell you, my first ever encounter with Sigur Ros actually was that song Hoppy Polar. And that was when I returned to Lancaster University on one occasion after like the year after I'd left kind of thing. And I was there for maybe 4 nights. And a certain individual that surprised us at our recent gig was running the term sketch show for the Comedy Institute. He was directing it. It was strange, I think is the best way I can describe it. It was strange. But he had this very cinematic vision. It was basically about cartoon characters and children's shows characters, but they've all gone wrong. So it's like one of them is like now a drug dealer and one of them's a convicted this, that, or whatever, or what have you. And one of the recurring gags is that it was Fireman Sam, and I can't remember the other character who's like the young kid in the show. But Fireman Sam now is living in an old people's home, suffering with dementia or something. Weird, yeah? And the recurring thing is this guy who's now grown up, he's a man, keeps coming to visit him to check on him. And it's only in the final scene where, after all the insanity of this sketch show, and this closes the show, he comes back to visit Sam, and it's the first time Sam actually recognises him, and he goes, oh, it's you. And he goes, God, how you've grown up. And then he turns to look at the audience, and the final line of the play was, how we've all grown up. And then he wanted the Sigur Ros song to fade in as a big outro thing. And it was just in that moment where I heard him talking about some rehearsal, I just thought, no, you are insane. You are genuine, like, in the best way, but you are insane. Yeah. So that was my first exposure to Sigur Ros. There you go, a bit of backstory. So your first one. Now, you had an interesting mix here of stuff I would call electronic stuff, and then either instrumental moments or instrumental tracks off of, like, to umbrella it, alt-rock albums.
That's fair.
This is the first one. And so there were like 4 or 5 names that I thought, who am I putting for each of these? And I don't want to be a naughty boy and put the same band for each one, because I'll probably get 1 point somewhere, but that doesn't feel like the spirit of the game. So I put a different one for each. I thought maybe this is They Might Be Giants. I tried to think of the kind of thing from my limited experience they might call a song. They're American. I called it the Tennessee two-step.
Fair enough.
I don't know what a two-step is. It's a dance.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know
a
what
dance,
two-step
yeah.
music sounds like. But 1989, I said geek rock, ska, because there's a brass section, pop rock generally.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realise it's sort of ska undertones, but yeah. 2 points.
Thank you very much.
Good stuff. Yeah, you've done well to guess the right artist for the first one. It is They Might Be Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Sort of has that feel, I guess, as well. So a well-educated guess.
Thank you.
The title's called Drinkin.
I can
with
see
no
it.
G.
You know what? I can see it.
Don't really know why.
Oh, I can. I can see
Oh,
it.
okay. It doesn't emanate those vibes to me when I listen to it, personally. But yeah, geek rock, alt rock. This is 1999. You're 10 years off.
Well, aren't we all?
Yeah, I think I had maybe a few tracks that I wanted to use for this game that were like sort of ones that don't have vocals that I wanted to use because I've listened to them recently and I've thought, well, that could be good to use. And then there were some that I thought, I think it could be fun to include some ones from some acts I do really like that are just instrumental tracks. And this is a fully instrumental track. It's off of what many people consider their worst album, The Long Tall Weekend, which came out in 1999. It's an interesting point in their career because I guess they were just starting to settle with the ensemble They Might Be Giants rather than just the two of them, because they'd done maybe 2 or 3 albums before this as an ensemble, but you could tell that they were still sort of finding their feet or sound within that. And then you get this, which I will probably agree it's probably their worst. It's
best friendship with They Might Be Giants over.
I don't know. I think it's just a lot of the aspects of They Might Be Giants tracks that you wouldn't like. I feel a lot crops up on this one. They're not as consistent as they could be. But there are some nice moments. This track, for example, I do really like. I think as an instrumental, it is fun. It's enjoyable. It's not my favourite They Might Be Giants instrumental track. I'd probably say that is Spacesuit, which I've already played to you.
Yes, I remember something called Spacesuit. Yeah,
that is a fantastic closer to Apollo 18. This one comparatively feels like it could have singing over it. I feel like with Spacesuit, it fit the instrumental vibe because it's, I don't feel like having vocals over it in a lyrical sense would suit it. Whereas with this one, it feels like it is just an instrumental. One that is still nice, of course. Yeah, you're right about those ska sort of brass sections. I never really realised that. They do like their brass sections, I think John Linnell could play, I'm not sure what instrument it is, some sort of, I don't know, bass, baritone sax, maybe, bass clarinet.
The bass clarinet, goodness.
And so I think some of those contributions are from him, which is nice, which are fun.
It's nice to have a individual in a band who can play woodwind. It's quite good.
So it always comes in handy.
Yeah.
Always does. But yeah, I don't have too much more to say. I still like They Might Be Giants. They are still good. 2 points to you.
They might be good.
They might be good. They might. You might think they're good. I apologise if I sniffle a lot in this game. Hay fever is starting to take me over.
We have had the hottest 2 or 3 days of the year so far in the UK. I think today we might just tease the 30. I don't think we'll hit it.
Mid-20s, I think.
You think?
Yeah.
When I checked this morning,
it feels like it might be 30.
There seemed to be a suggestion of a 29 at some point. Does my phone still think that? It says
I saw 25.
28. It might go up to.
Okay.
Apparently, it's saying 28 now, but it doesn't feel like it.
I don't think it's. I think it's 28 right now. I mean, mine says 20. Maybe it feels like it's 28 because the heat is so close.
I hate this weather. I'll leave it there.
I hate the fact that it gives me hay fever, but
yes,
It probably is a bit too warm, I'd probably say.
It's too warm.
You're number 2.
Mm-hmm.
We sort of begin our chain of... I've just put a random artist that I remember you using before because it fit the vibe of them. Mm-hmm. I've guessed How to Disappear completely. Mm-hmm. You haven't talked about them for a bit.
I haven't.
But maybe this is a chance to talk about it again. I don't know if you've listened much beyond Seraphim. Mm-hmm. You probably have. But I guessed it was Seraphim. That's any basis I have. I guess it was Seraphim 3, Dark Ambient. Hoping that is a good enough genre quantifier. And 2017 is the year that I put, just a random year.
I think that's 2 points.
Thank you.
This is... I'm not going to say what I was about to say. This is an instance, I'm afraid, of me being cruel. Because the instrumental game has given me an avenue to talk about certain things. This is not a YouTube recommended one, but this is when I stumbled across this very, for want of a better word, corny thing on YouTube of people going, is this the most evil music genre? Okay. And it was like, have you guys heard of Death Dream?
Here we go.
And so I thought, well, no, I haven't. So let me go to Rate Your Music or whatever and find a playlist that someone's made. And I still haven't quite completed it because I haven't felt compelled to return to it in a while. But this is one of the best things I found off of it. It is by a producer called Diskette Park.
Really?
Oh, do you know them?
I've used some Diskette Park before.
Actually?
Yeah. That's
cracked. That's insane. So it's not as out of the blue as it could have been, which is nice. This is like a half-hour single movement thing. It's really evocative. It's called Deepfall. 2020. I said Dark Ambient, Death Dream. You could have put maybe field recording in there as well, because there's a lot of samples going on throughout it. The best way I can describe it is it does feel like you have just fallen very deeply, because it's so evocative. It feels like you're in a different world. And I'm not sure if you can have a genre called progressive ambient, because ambient isn't necessarily structured anyway. But if there ever was to be something called progressive ambient, it would be this half-hour thing, because it doesn't really repeat. Each moment has like maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and then it goes and does something else. It's nice. It's just, I was saying, it's just really evocative. It's just really evocative. It's one of my favourite electronic discoveries, I suppose. I don't return to it often, but every time I look at it, it's one of those things I see the title of and I go, yeah, that's good. I know that's good. And this is a great opportunity for me to say, go listen to it. Is Death Dream the spookiest genre ever? No, it's not. It's just ambient that's a bit moody. That's what it is. If you want scary stuff, go into like your, industrial noise glitch stuff, or the very evil experimental 20th century avant-garde stuff. I think those are your spookiest genres. This has just got a spooky name. It's a spooky name that like a 15-year-old came up with and went, ooh, that will scare people on the internet. It is the creepypasta of music genres.
Good comparison.
Thank you. But let me not take away from the fact that this is actually this is quite good music. This is quite good music. 2 points.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd used. Do you know what? Weirdly, I used a track from the same year by Diskette Park. I was sort of thinking, maybe it might be one that is like from a different year. Maybe they've transitioned genre-wise, but it's the same year. And the track I used was very upbeat.
Wow.
And I don't know, it was sort of like a chill, sort of future funky sort of thing. It was, I just surprised. Okay, well, surprised to see him show up.
Maybe it's maybe they're a producer that deserves a bit more attention then from both of us if they clearly have that kind of range. Maybe I will do more Diskette Park. Maybe I have to now. Okay, for your second one. This is, as I said to you before we started recording, there are a lot of answers that I wanted to look at and go, am I sure about it? But when I did do that, I thought, actually, you know what? I'm quite proud of these answers. If I'm wrong, I think I've been wrong with style. So I've stuck to them, and this is one of them. This did actually, funnily enough, this one reminded me of How to Disappear completely.
Okay.
Which I have listened to. I've listened to more of their stuff.
Nice.
They have 3 albums called Medarev 1, Medarev 2, Medarev 3. And there was one compilation that wanted me to listen to all of them together, which was over 3 hours. And I said, no, I will do one at a time. I think this is Fennesz. Because it has, as I've written, the droney elements that I personally associate, not having listened to the album. Venice, is it?
Yeah.
I said dark ambient as well. I said Seraphim because of who it reminded me of. 2014, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'll give you a point.
I'll take the point. Thank you.
Yeah, I enjoy the shout out of Fennesz, and I guess I never really saw how, I guess, similar strains this sort of has to it. This is Godspeed You Black Emperor. It is a track off of Lift Your Skinny Fist Like Antennas to Heaven. The track is Like Antennas to Heaven, but the section is towards the end of the track, and it's a section called Death Camp Drone. I gave you Drone or Post Rock, and 2000 was when it came out.
As I said, I'm still proud of my guess. The reason why I sighed is future guesses. That's, yes.
Fair enough. It's hard. I feel like
I've listened to this album once.
Yeah,
it was very good.
I mean, this draws into what I was saying last time about why I like this album a lot. Is when you each time you listen to it, you don't hear it in the same way. There's different parts about it that crop up in the sense of it's like a long form sort of thing. So
yes,
it feels more
very
akin to like I guess old classical sort of stuff. I've said before that this is my favourite track off the album. I think it feels like it's a beautiful closer. It goes through lots of different sort of phases as well. Each phase feels very different from the last. And this comes towards the end where it feels like this sort of bittersweet goodbye. I think, this is the penultimate section. I'm not sure what the last one's called, but the last one's got like these sort of, I'm not sure if they're guitar strums or like guitar chords that sort of swell in and then come out, and they're very beautiful. And this one just sort of feels like, droney. It feels like a voice that's been sort of stretched. Yeah, nice.
Paul Stretch moment?
It could be a Paul Stretch moment. I think they're a band that are able to pull all of this off live.
That's remarkable.
I get the sense that they sort of record it live and then sort of see what happens, and they have sort of...
Imagine watching these guys live. That must be great.
Sort of samplers coming in and stuff. Because it creates a beautiful atmosphere. And I guess it's a bit crazy that this band who get lumbered with the post-rock genre, which is it's an interesting genre in its own right, but I feel like compared to a lot of other bands that get called post-rock, they do so many different things within that still. And I suppose that's an aspect of their stuff that I like, and I guess that's why they've got an album called Yankee UXO, UXO, which I don't like as much, just because of the fact that they don't utilise the sampling aspect.
I agree with you.
In that album, it's all very...
Bless you.
Thank you. It's all very ensemble stuff, which I do like, but I like how, different their sections can be. You never know which... what you're going to get in the next section of a Godspeed song. It is just a great album. It's one of those where you hear so much good stuff about it that when you listen to it, you're never really going to have that special experience the first time because you're expecting a certain
That's a very good point. I like that point.
And so it sort of takes you listening to it and finding your own personal gratification within it for it to be, a nice album for you. And I enjoy it a lot, and I like to think that that's become that for me. Don't have too much more to say. You have a point.
Well, thank you. No, makes me think of a couple of things. Firstly, I completely agree with you on the sampling thing. I think the way they handle their samples and whatnot is really cool. It's one of the reasons why I really enjoy, and I've listened to this a couple of times, also F sharp, A sharp Infinity.
Yeah.
You know, the way they handle their vocal samples and stuff, and that is really cool. And then, is it the opening track that is so bleak, and then it just ends with like a fiddle jig or something, which I just think is wonderful. And the second thing I was going to say is, I completely agree with you. I think the more music you listen to, the more you have certain sources you get your recommendations from. And the more noise you hear about, oh, this is amazing, or this isn't that good. And so you can't, no matter how hard you try, or don't try, I suppose it should be, to go in with any preconceptions, you can't avoid it.
Yeah.
And so there are certain albums that you love, and you think, oh, I really enjoyed this. But for me, I always think there's this little voice in the back of mind going, I'd probably be enjoying things a lot more if I didn't go in with so many opinions already on my mind.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, and it's one of the reasons I like the list thing, because it's got so long that I can't remember even who some artists are. I just look at the names and I go, I've got no idea what this is anymore. And because I've put them in such a long time ago, a lot of albums I've forgotten opinions towards. I just go, I wrote this down for a reason, must be good. And so there's still that element of surprise there sometimes.
Yeah.
Or, as I'll talk to you maybe in a couple of games' time or whatever, when I get the chance to include some stuff, disappointments.
I need to guess, don't I? Okay.
Or you can just get it right.
Let me remind myself of this one. Okay. Currently being reminded. The sound of this is not really akin to who I've put, from what I understand of their sound.
Sure.
I've mainly put it for... There's like a very embedded, mix-wise, female vocal.
There is.
And the sound of the vocal reminded me a lot of a shoegaze band that I like called My Bloody Valentine. Comparatively, the sound of this song it's not noisy at all. It's quite sweet. It's like chambery, sort of.
Yes.
Saying that, I'm going to put that down because the thing that I put already, I don't dislike, but I also think could be better attributed. I've said the track is called Rollover. I said post-rock, but I've put in chamber pop as well because it does feel chambery. And 2013 was the year that I guessed. I think they had an album come out that year. They had like a sort of like a comeback. Yeah.
I'm going to set a trend of generosity and give you 1 point. I think as you'll go on, I'm hoping... Well, I'm hoping you'll realise it, but I'm telling you now anyway, so you won't realise it. It will be more of a, oh, Fred told me. I tried to have a different genre for each thing. That wouldn't be something I did. So in my opinion, I'd say that's different to that, that's different to that, that's different to that. This is, you may be surprised to learn, Swans. It's called Warm, which I think is one of the more appropriately titled tracks I've chosen. 1995, I put gothic rock. I think the mention of post-rock, even though you say you don't necessarily agree with it, this is like the seeds of what would become their post-rock stuff. I want to say, and someone may reply to this, just go, you know nothing about Swans, you're wrong. I want to say that, well, this is off The Great Annihilator, which I want to say is the album before Soundtracks for the Blind. I'm not sure if there's anything in between them. I don't think there is. It's good. It's a really good album. It's good. It's not as good as others necessarily, although this might be my third or fourth favourite. I'm not sure. It's a really good album. There's some really strong highlights on there. This is one of them because it's just typical. You've got a lot of, as you would expect with Swans, darkness and noise, and certain lyrics will make you go, what did he say? And heavy drumming. And you're still very much in the gothic rock era as well. There's a certain sort of tape glimmer to all the sounds as you're listening that makes you go, "Ooh, that's nostalgia. That's nice." But then you just get this come on, and you'll listen to it and go, "This might be the most beautiful thing I've ever heard on certain days. This is stunning." And this is, I want to say, this is Jarbo lending her vocals again. Again, the same lady who sang Volcano and stuff like that, which when you listen to makes you want to go to the lyrics anyway. I think it's actually quite a good song. Yeah, look, it's pretty. It was another thing that made me go, "Oh, this is a completely different sound to other stuff I've got, so it makes sense to include it." It was something I've wanted to include for a long time, so that's that too. Just because of how different and how much of a subversion of Swans it is. I don't know when the next time Swans will get a mention is. So, big up Swans. There you go.
I'll do my best not to guess them much more then.
Yeah, to be honest, I think you're safe too. Okay. Yes, 1 point for the genre.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, when you say gothic rock, I can hear the gothic rock tinges in the
it's
in
like
the
that sort of
now.
piano guitar kind of sparkliness kind of thing.
Nice.
I thought if you were going to say anyone, I think the My Bloody Valentine is a good shout. In the back of my mind, I thought maybe he'll go for like early Cocteau Twins kind of thing.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm still yet to verse myself with early Cocteau Twins, to be honest, but still stuck up on Heaven or Las Vegas.
What's it called? Treasure Man.
I think I've listened to Treasure. Yeah.
I love it.
Is that the one that Harold Budd does some stuff on?
Ooh,
I'm thinking of something else.
I think there's another one he does some stuff.
Oh, that's
for.
of Moon of Melodies or whatever. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of, yeah. My bad. My Cocteau Twins knowledge isn't deep.
Not yet. Okay, so this is another one, your third one, where it was like, which, again, massive umbrella term, alt-rock band has Chris chosen here? Has he chosen some random Sun Kill Moon offcut to really surprise me? Because it genuinely could be, the way it sounds, but I don't think you would use a forbidden musician in today's game. I think, as I've said before, he's on that forbidden musician list. I've tried my best. Songs are higher. I said Sleeping In, why not? 1991, Slacker Rock, maybe slowcore as well. I know I've put Songs Are Higher and not alt country. Fight me.
On the basis that you gave me a point for the last one for genre, because there were tinges, I'll do the exact same for this one.
If you're sure. I know...
It's the exact same scenario, basically.
Okay, thank you.
You'll be very surprised by who this is.
I hope so. I like being surprised.
This is Fennesz.
Okay, yes.
The track's called Laguna, which, I don't know, maybe it means lagoon
Is this off
in
Fennesz?
a different language. This is off of Fennesz.
I'm gonna shoot myself. Okay.
Have you listened to Fennesz?
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
haven't. It's just
do.
funny. I've only just spoken about it.
Yeah. Rate Your Music said neo psychedelia, so I said, yeah, I can see that in the guitar stuff. I put ambient as well, just because the album generally, I think, is ambient. People might say glitch ambient because it's noisy, or as I like to say, noise ambient.
Noise. I like noise
feels
ambient.
like conflicting terms.
That is an oxymoron. I like it.
I also like
noise
the term.
ambient.
Yeah. 2004 is when it came out. First and foremost, I think a lot of what is off of the album is guitar based. Like it's made using a guitar.
Okay.
There's some that
That's
are more...
an oversight on my part, yeah.
I mean, it's hard to tell. Like a lot of the songs that I've played you, it's sort of hard to tell. The main one is Chateau Rouge, which is my favourite off of this track, this album. Mainly because I listen to it and I go, I don't know what any of these sounds are.
Yeah.
I don't know how you make any of this, but it's beautiful. And it's, it's undulating, it's doing things. It's so lovely. There's another one I played you, I think, called Circassian, which is...
Circassian?
It's harder to tell that... Well, no, actually, it's easier to tell that one is guitar-led, because it sounds more shoegazy. the last track off of this album, called The Stone of Impermanence, at least the first section, you can tell that it is just a very distorted guitar. And then you get tracks like this where it's like, you know, if you don't know this sounds like a guitar, I don't know if you've ever listened to any music ever. It's just a soft, the whole track is just this sort of soft guitar led thing. And so I think a lot of what this album offers is guitar based style. He goes beyond that. He's a very talented producer, Fennesz. He definitely goes beyond that. But yeah, this feels like a sort of chill interlude sort of track. I mean, I don't think there's some tracks on this that are like 40 seconds long, and so you'd say you probably like consider them interludes. This is more like 2-3 minutes, so it fits more in with a lot of the other tracks on the album. But in a sense, it doesn't as well, because it is the most calm on the album. It's weird. It's interesting. Yeah, I've probably mentioned when I first listened to the album before, but it's an album that I discovered at university because one of my lecturers liked the album quite a bit and played us one of the tracks. And the album art for it, man, oh my god,
lovely.
It's such a beautiful cover. And I wanted to listen to it for ages, and I got around to it, listened to it at the same time as my uni mates. We put it on in the lounge and listened to it, and it was a lovely experience. And a lot of that shaped why I love the album. It's just interesting. I'm yet to really delve deeper within this sort of sound. Not so much deeper within Fennesz. I've listened to one or two other of his albums. But yeah, the noise ambient, glitch ambient sort of stuff, I guess I'm yet to digest deeper. But yeah, it's interesting. I'd highly recommend Fennesz. It is a very interesting album. Does a lot of interesting stuff. But in the meantime, you can have a point.
I'll take that point. Thank you. Look, the fact he was on my mind at all for this game makes me satisfied.
I'm surprised that you mentioned him. Yeah, he's not necessarily a name that I'd have thought you'd have brought up, so kudos.
I forgot the guitar-y bit. I knew the drone-y bit, but I forgot the guitar-y bit. So, alas.
Your number 4.
Number 4.
Now, this is one of the ones that initially I hadn't put someone down for.
Sure.
And there was a name in my mind who I thought, I expect to show up in this game, to be honest. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. And when I was going back to the one or two answers that I hadn't put a name down for, I knew I was going to put this person down for one of them.
Sure.
I've put Hiroshi Yoshimura. Not convinced it is him. It doesn't sound like what I understand his sound to be. It doesn't remind me of the stuff that I've heard of his, basically.
Sure.
I said it was called Stargazing. Because it felt like you start. I feel like every answer we have for these is it's just based on what it feels like, really. Feels like you're stargazing. I said drone/ambient. Drone because there was like I don't know, some sound there.
Yeah, like sort of synth grounding it. Yeah,
but as you say, grounds the whole thing. Ambient. 1994. No real reason. Just a random guess. This could be bad. It
won't be. It's 2 points.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm going to say credit to the composer. Well, you know, it is Hiroshi Yoshimura, so I'm going to give him credit anyway. Because I love him. But credit to him for perhaps the way he's written it, because I think it's the closest to a title point we've come so far. Because it is, you're sky gazing anyway. It's called Clouds.
Wow.
1982. I said ambient or post-minimalism due to how barren it is. That's what I associate with post-minimalism, sort of a general quietude.
Okay.
This is, I want to say, the first major release from an album called Music for 9 Postcards.
Nice.
It is my least favourite of his, even though I think the consensus would be that a lot of people would say the opposite. It's their most favourite. I think it's the most studyable album, if that makes sense, if you just want to put it in the background and get work done. The reason why it's my least favourite is because he hasn't grown into... I think it's a wonderful ability, Yoshimura, of writing ambient music that you can listen to properly because there's still stuff happening. and it evolves, and there are multiple parts to it, and he's sort of it like an ensemble kind of thing. This is your most like, if you were to ask a random person to think of ambient music, I think this is the most like what they would describe that he released, because it's very repetitive, and it is just him writing a few synth melodies for each 3, 4, 5 minute track kind of thing. And so in a way, it's his least adventurous release, I think is a good way of putting it.
Okay.
It's still excellent, because I think all of his stuff is excellent. What he's trying to do, he does brilliantly. But it feels the least developed, which is not a surprise considering it's his first major release. It's still good. I still recommend it. I still recommend all of Yoshimura, because I think there's something to find in every single one of his albums. He hasn't quite found the nature recordings and samplings and stuff like that yet. It's still just him playing about with some synths and some keyboards, which is still nice. It's not nice. Do I have anything to add on to this? No, I've spoken about Yoshimura before, maybe even the last game, I can't remember. But know this, I adore him. You should adore him too. He is the most peaceful musician I may have ever encountered. And it's this thing that we've spoken about before. There are certain artists we discover that you just long for them to find one archived album somewhere, just something. Because everything he touched turned to gold. And I'm sure if they found something else, I would probably wet myself, because I'd be so excited. I would have liked to meet him, to ask him how he did it, to learn from him kind of thing. Because with ambient stuff on my journey with it, I've never discovered someone who seemed to have got it like he did. Japanese synth ambient from the 80s and 90s, man. Top 3 genre of all time. I'm telling you. Yeah, 2 points.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
He was always going to show up. I did think to myself, is it sensible for me to not include him because Chris is going to think he's there? And I almost didn't. But then I thought, you know what? Screw trying to win the game. He deserves it every time.
Yeah, just play stuff you want to talk about. I mean, if you were going to use an extract that sounded the least like Yoshimura, I feel, or at least from what you've played of his stuff to me before, I would argue this. So, in that sense, it was a good one to use.
Thank you. This is your number 4. I've sent this, right? And if it is right, I'll be very proud. If not, once again, I'm proud I tried it. I've gone for an album released this year by a man called Skrillex. Because I've seen that he has released it and people have actually gone, oh, this is him back to his best kind of thing. He's not selling out with poppy stuff or whatever, radio-friendly stuff. He's actually doing some brave electronic stuff.
Okay.
Not that I've ever listened to any Skrillex. But I thought, maybe you've pushed the boat out and you knew this game was coming up, and you've also seen the media noise and you've gone, let me try it, why not? I said it was Skrillex. It sounded a bit wonky, so I called it Cross-Eyed. I said 2025. I said Glitch. Now, I tried to cover my bases here. I wrote Deconstructed House because it sounded deconstructed, but then I realised I don't actually know what that means. So I also put just House. IDM generally. Yeah.
I'll give you 1 point.
Thank you.
The genres. It's hard to pin a genre down on this.
Sure.
His basis is in hip hop, so it might be like a hip hoppy sort of genre. This is a person you've heard of before, but you might have sort of been like, I haven't listened to his stuff. I don't know what his sound is meant to be like. This is Lil Ugly Mane.
Insane. Okay.
This is
okay. See, again, I have no ill feeling because this is. Obviously, I'm going to let you talk about it. I'm not trying to steal your thing. But whenever I think of this person, I know of him, I just think Enigma.
Yeah, exactly.
He just seems so out there. I have no basis for what he sounds like. So this is cool.
Yeah, that's exactly what I proffered. Is you know you hear big things and you just hear that he's a big artist, but you don't know where to, not even like where to look, like where to start thinking about what his sound could be like. It's different and weird. There's a track of his called Headboard. I've put shoegaze, hypnagogic pop just because those were the genre terms that Rate Your Music used. But it's more hip hoppy because you've got hip hop drums. I gave you a point for house.
Oh, thank you.
Because I can hear
quite
that in
generous.
2021 was when it came out. This is off of his. I'm not sure how many people laud a lot of his albums. I know that Mr. Thug Isolation.
Following, it seems. Yeah.
He has an album called Mr. Thug Isolation, which is like one of his first ones. And then this was one that came out recently that got a lot of buzz and people talking about. I haven't listened to it, but it's off of Volcanic Bird Enemy and the Voice Concern, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
This is, well, how I came to find it is, I'm not sure if you've
I've seen this cover, yes.
Yeah, it's cool. The influx of YouTube videos that are sort of going through sort of genres on Rate Your Music, and they're looking at like the top 50 songs from it.
I have.
And they're playing a clip from each one. This was for specifically hypnagogic pop ones, which is why I've put hypnagogic pop. I'm not sure where they're seeing that, personally.
I would agree, but fine.
But I mean, I've found it, and it's a cool track, so I've used it. Yeah, this was the longest section of no, rapping in it that I could get, and I wanted to use it because it's interesting sonically, which I think is something that would be good to chat about in this game. It's a game where you're not really assessing lyrics, so you're talking more about what the track itself is doing sonically, what you're hearing. And this is a track which I remember hearing immediately and going, sonically, this is so interesting. It's, just a lot of interesting sounds. I don't have too much more to say on Lil Ugly Mane. I haven't listened to his stuff yet.
No.
This is spurring me on to listen to the album, so we'll see what the album generally is saying. Whether I'll learn more about the Volcanic Bird Enemy.
Well.
Or maybe understand what the voiced concern means in any shape or form.
I want to say he's had some mental health struggles that have been fairly well documented, but like quite bad.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Don't be upset if I'm wrong, please.
Yeah, I've not read too deeply into his stuff. I think it's likely. I wouldn't, I wouldn't disagree. Again, I haven't seen much about it, so could be the thing. But yeah, this is it's a good track. I suppose maybe that if that is true, then it might contextualize why there's not much lauded between Mr. Thug Isolation and this album, in terms of like really high praise. But at the same time, there's a lot of Earl Sweatshirt stuff that, in the depths of his sort of mental health issues, I feel has a lot of really lauded stuff of his. Solace, for example. But yeah, I don't know. It's a fun track. And I hope that this is sort of a start of, I don't know, if he has had mental health struggles, a start of a period where he can be, I don't know, happier. And if this is music that he's making when he's happier, then sick. Yeah, because it's good music. Anyways, 1 point for you.
Thank you.
You're just off on the year, unfortunately. I was looking at the year thinking you might just be in there, but unfortunately,
you forgot that we're in 25, not 24.
Sorry about that.
Come on, Skrillex, man. Come on. Still yet to have his first. Well, actually, no, that is his first appearance on the Whiteboard Game, technically.
So. In a guess.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
You're number 5.
Number 5.
I like to think that I have attributed a good guess for this one.
Cool.
Another one that felt chambery.
Yeah.
And when I think of chamber music, and you, I think Grizzly Bear. So I've put Grizzly Bear. Not confident with the answer, But it reminded me of some of the reference points you've used for a track we're working on, and you've played me a few Grizzly Bear tracks.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you said sort of acoustic percussion, and my basis for understanding what you mean by that is a lot of Grizzly Bear sort of tracks where the drums feel like they've been recorded like with just like one mic basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it, and it reminded me of this a bit. I said it's called the Bell Tolls because there were bells in it.
There are bells, that's true.
And I said chamber folk. Whether you think that is fair, it's up to you.
See, look, you've given me a dilemma.
Reachy.
Because
2008.
the word chamber, I don't disagree with, but the word folk, I do disagree with.
Well, feel free not to give me a point if you don't think it's good enough.
I might have to donut you, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm really sorry.
I will remember this.
No, please do. Look, you treat me in turn. I am sorry. For the record, when I talk about acoustic percussion, I like the Grizzly Bear shout. There is actually, and it's a band I haven't used because they may have found their way onto the top 200, that I've heard stuff that they've done and I've just gone, this is what I've been looking for. What a great reference. And I haven't been able to share it with you because it's a massive spoiler.
Okay.
But this is Shushu.
Oh, what the hell?
It's called Laura Palmer's theme. 2016. Experimental rock, noise rock. This is their ode to a TV show with a huge cult following where they redid the soundtrack of it, basically. They did their version of the soundtrack by the name of Twin Peaks. Which I haven't watched and need to. Because fundamentally, I know it's strange. And I like strange television. I don't really watch shows. So it would be nice to have something to watch. It's actually really good. It's a really good album. It's all instrumental, I think, and you can trust Shushu to have a particularly strange ensemble or selection of synth sounds. So the thought of them redoing a soundtrack to something, it just makes sense. If I'd watched the show, I'd have more to say, but I haven't. Rest in peace, David Lynch, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I have not yet touched any of your art. I will do. Have I told you I met Jamie Stewart? Did I ever tell you that? I interviewed last year. That was a long time ago, wasn't it? Wow.
It's crazy.
Still online, Atwood Magazine. My name's Frederick.
Read it.
Jamie Stewart. Look, they were lovely. They were a lovely person. And they gave me a lot of time, and even though I was keeping them longer than they wanted to be kept because they had a rehearsal and there was someone in the car they were in and they kept saying to me, look, I'm getting dirty looks, I need to go, I need to go. Yes, anyway, I feel embarrassed about the donut. I hate giving donuts.
That's fine.
But
I mean, it's not a great answer really for what it is.
Look, if I do the same, please feel inclined to treat me in turn.
Sure. I also don't know too much about Twin Peaks. The only bit I've heard from it is DJ Shadow samples it at the end of introducing.
Really?
There's a bit in the show where, I'm not sure what character it is, but they go, "It is happening again." And he samples that. And it's pretty eerie. Yeah. Pretty interesting.
Well, I think that's, what those are two words, I think, with limited knowledge of the show that describe it pretty well. Eerie and interesting.
That's true.
Yes, so you're number 5. I've pushed the boat out. And you know what? It could be a donut, this one, actually. We'll see. But again, I'm proud of all my answers, so I don't mind. This was weird. It was kind of weird. Who does weird better than anyone else? Ween do weird better than anyone else. I haven't listened to La Cucaracha, and I didn't recognise this. So I put La Cucaracha. 1999 kind of ballpark Ween year figure.
Sure.
Alt rock.
Cool. You were right to think it was Ween.
Let's go!
But you get 2 points.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's Ween. The track is called Crappy Anniversary, Jimmy.
Screw you, Jimmy, you fool. 2024, wait a minute.
Alt Rock 2024. This is off of the deluxe version of Chocolate and Cheese. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's why it says that. First track off of the deluxe version of Chocolate and Cheese. Well, as in the second disc, the first track of the deluxe would be a remaster of Take Me Away, of course, which is the first track off of that album. Entirely instrumental track with a fast beat, distorted guitar, and a guitar riff that I can only describe as being pitch shifted. It doesn't sound real.
It's so weird, man.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
So I think it's been pitched up an octave or something like that. Got to be Dino on that riff. There's no way that's not a Dean Ween riff.
Yeah.
Very fun. It's an interesting deluxe. I feel there's a few different things going on. Again, it's an interesting time of their career because they're moving away from the lo-fi sort of stuff and they're getting proper recordings done of their albums. And so hearing the demo stuff from it, and you're sort of thinking, I guess it could have Pure Guava vibes, and I guess it sort of does, really.
I like Pure Guava.
Yeah, I mean, I like Ween. I don't have too much more to say about it.
Can I just say, very briefly, if you're not familiar with the podcast, if this is your first ever episode, Chris saying I like Ween is the greatest understatement that has ever been uttered on this podcast.
They're a band I would recommend anyone, despite how odd they are.
Yeah, odd.
There are bands that are so close to your heart that you think, even if I was talking to someone who, I don't know, just listened to hip-hop or something, I would recommend them Ween.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
There's no person too adverse to Ween that I wouldn't still recommend them.
Yeah, entirely.
I wasn't. I mean, it's a good deluxe album. There's a lot of interesting stuff on the second half, but not massively enthralled by a lot of it. I think there was a single for it called Junkie Boy, which I thought is okay.
Okay.
Ultimately, I think they've put the best of what they had at that period on Chocolate and Cheese.
As would make sense, yeah.
And there's a couple of tracks that I do like. I think there's a track called Warm Socks, which is fun. It's chill. There's a track called Sasha, I think, as well, which is nice, very noisy, but reminds me a bit of Big Jilm off of Pure Guava. Listen to Ween, man. Listen to Ween. Cannot stress that enough.
If there is any advice you take from Chris today, it's probably that.
Do it. That's 5 extracts each done, I do believe.
Yes.
So thanks for joining us for the first half. We look forward to seeing you in the second half, where we'll be talking about an equal amount of instrumental tracks.
Yes.
We hope you enjoy it. We hope to see you there.
It'll be the same, but different.
A little bit different. Bye-bye.
Bye.